One-uppers of Reddit, what's the coolest thing you've ever done? So when I was growing up, I really loved catching animals like frogs, snakes, turtles, and insects. My little brother turned out to also like doing this, and one day when I came home from college, he came up to me and asked me to show him how to catch a snake. So we both walk outside. I have a net by my side, and we get to the area in our backyard where snakes like to hang out. Before I can even do anything, a garter snake slithers right up inside my net and just stays there. I told my bro that's how it's done and walked back inside. This is the most big brother thing I've ever heard. I once replaced 11,000 lines of code with 600. My first AMA ranks higher than Billy Murray's, Nick Offerman's, one of Arnold's, Ian McKellen's, and Michael Dorn's AMAs. Oh dang, you're the vacuum repair guy. My older sister had a son on the same day I had twin boys, so that's kinda cool. I had triplets that day. Got to spend a summer excavating a shipwreck in Bermuda. I excavated a space shuttle wreck on the moon. I was involved in a snowball fight at the North Pole while standing next to a nuclear submarine. I was involved in a nuclear submarine fight while standing next to a snowball. A few years ago for before Christmas, a friend of mine's mother passed away. She, the mother, had been ailing for quite a while, and my friend had gone into debt taking time off and traveling to take care of her mother both before and after she had passed. It seemed like it was going to be a very gloomy Christmas for her and her family, and they were now very short on cash. I couldn't stand for this to happen. I went around my office and called up a number of family members and family friends, and told them of my friend's situation. Through the kindness of people who had never even met my friend before, we gathered together donations to make an entire Christmas dinner with all the fixings, toys for her 2 kids, and an extra $200 which I matched for a total of $400. I dropped this off on her doorstep a few days before Christmas, rang the bell, and ran away. A few days later I was hanging out at her house and she told me about her Christmas miracle. She was so grateful for that little bit of kindness. To this day, she does not know it was me. I freaking love that you did this and didn't tell the person it was you. That makes it even better. Once I was brushing my teeth when I came in from work and I spat the toothpaste water out into the sink, but at that same moment I realized my tie was in the sink, so I saw in slow motion for a second and moved my tie out the sink milliseconds before the spit hit the bowl. Cool, huh? I cook bacon naked. Something way cooler than the guy below me. I once put Fox News on hold at my job. I've never felt so important in my entire life. I put my entire life on hold. Wait. My dad owns a video store and I get all the new Nintendo and Sega games as soon as they come out. My dad is Nintendo and my mom is Sega. Sailing through a reef into an anchorage in Cuba. Waves were about 6 feet to 8 feet, so we're essentially surfing. No chart and no markers. I'm on the spreader shouting directions to wife to avoid any huge coral heads. The water was crystal clear, so judging what was a real threat was tough. It was so beautiful, so scary, and so alive. Been there, done that. Was shipwrecked with my wife once. Woke up beam onto the beach. Luckily it was the beach of a golf club. Reefs are scary though for sure. I fear losing a rudder more than taking on water. This roided up basketball coach at my rec league said something about Idaho and then I said no Idaho. This did not end well for me, but the whole bench got a kick out of it. When I was 16 I slept with my friend's hot 26-year-old sister. I slept with your friend and his hot sister. Got a BJ at a concert in general admission standing area. A person next to me said, "You know, everyone can see that." I responded, "Not my problem." Full disclosure, I was pretty fricked up and was really embarrassed later on when I fully comprehended what had just happened. On the flip side of this, while at a concert my friend pointed out that the couple next to us was doing some weird crap. I turned to see this lady with her hand casually down the back of her boyfriend's pants, fingering his butthole. I grew up fast that day. At least you aren't that guy, op. I met a B-list celebrity and spent 10 minutes with him at a club pining over a girl that I like who he later boned that night. I still have a thing for you, Stacy. You helped a guy bone the girl you like. That is some next level wingman crap. Came from super small town. graduated from MIT, sold business for millions, work for Nat Geo, traveled to all 7 continents. I'm 33. I never ever get to brag about this. I roll. One of my friends went to Tenerife, so I went to El Tenerife. That showed him. When I was 20 years old, I was good friends with a guy whose mom was an ex-Playboy bunny, which also led to him being Hef's godson. I went and visited him in LA over the summer and we had VIP access to the mansion's Midsummer Night's Dream Party. As 20-year-old male, being greeted by innumerable naked and beautiful women, and spending an entire night with them in the most ornately decorated version of the Playboy Mansion, and being treated like a B-list celebrity, because that's mostly who was there, was ridiculously awesome. That and an open bar. I almost got into a fight with Colton from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air because I kept calling him Colton and he kept yelling at me about how he was also in Silver Spoons, which I still don't know WTF it is. Jamie Kennedy literally ran into me and demanded to know what time it was and I said I had no idea, to which point he answered it must be BJ time and ran off into the grotto. What a night. The only downside is I may have peaked at 20 years old. It's cool though. No better time to live that dream. I asked this same question on my old account and made front page. I asked it on my account and made it to the front page quicker. I once smoked week with Ron Weasley. He winked at me. I smoked month with Ron Weasley. I was on a TV commercial and now I'm somewhat famous. I get tons of pee. I had sex at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. I had sex with the Grand Canyon. Woke up at 5 AM with a sudden urge to see Edward Munch's The Scream. Grabbed my laptop and booked the next trip to Oslo for the upcoming weekend. Arrived on a Saturday and went straight to the museum. Headed back to New York the next day. I feel pretty bad for living 5 minutes walking distance to that for 3 years and haven't been yet. I got stupid paranoid high with a Greenlandic Inuit Eskimo grandmother while hanging out in Copenhagen. I wasn't feeling it at the time when she offered, but I figured this was my only chance to get high with an Eskimo grandmother. She taught me the East Greenlandic phrase for I love you and shared the most delicious pork rinds with me. I was then alone and tripped balls for 8 hours wandering an unfamiliar city. I guess the other thing was when I got 24-hour access to a natural history museum when I worked there at a summer job. I would check into work at 11 PM, was paid by output, not hours, so I wasn't cheating anyone out of pay, and wander the half-lit exhibitions. Beyond terrifying awesome, especially the silhouettes of the taxidermied monkeys, or the mummies. I worked at a laser tag place in the late 90s. Yes, I am a lady. I was playing in my spare time and as we broke up the teams, the 18-year-old boys all grown when I sit down next to them. Ugh, we got the girl. Just stay in the back and try not to let them hit our base. Oh okay. Can you do that? They told me. Screw you guys. I went in hard. I lit up our opponent's base 30 seconds in and utterly dominated the game. So much so that we were leading by a factor of 4-1. The game marshal asked me to switch sides about halfway through to even things up. So I got to destroy the kids who were so condescending to the girl on their team. I got the top score on both teams. I stepped a little to the side of this pipe. I think it was the 4th one. Anyway, these Goombas were in the way, and there were Koopas later, but to the right of this 4th pipe was this hidden block. It had a green mushroom in it when I jumped up and hit my head on it. One up that M. The un-one-uppable, the legends were true. After a concert, the international sex symbol lead singer invited me up to his after party. I was kinda sad to see no one in the hotel room when I got there. We spent a couple hours talking about life, sex, and travel. Then he laid down on the couch and said he was tired. So I agreed, grabbed my purse, and left. My sister had a similar experience with Afroman. She and her friend were invited to go to his hotel room for what she thought was an after party. Turns out they booked a non-smoking hotel room and no one else was invited except for my sister and her friend. I guess Afroman got bored so he went to bed. Was hitting on a guy's GF in the bar. He challenged me to a game of pool. He was definitely better than me at pool. I offer him the break. He gives it to me. I sink the 8 ball. Only the 8 ball on the break. Turn to him and ask, want to play again? I sunk the 2 ball in a guy's GF in the bar. I held a 93-year-old woman's stopped heart in my gloved hand. When it wouldn't restart, I gave it a special massage and it started beating again. Hid in the freezer. I built a freezer, then hid in it. I've got more karma than you OP. Yeah, I know, I'm cool. Can confirm, I'm OP. Was at my grandparents' house with all my family. We are all in the yard when someone points out a groundhog in the middle is the field across the road. I was 8 and just happened to have men a new Marlin Model 60.22 cal rifle. I said proudly that I would take care of it. My cousins immediately start giving me heck about how I could never do it from that far with a 22. I look around and see my grandpa paying close attention and having a strong desire to make him proud. I steadied myself against the maple tree in their yard as we watched this groundhog poke his head out of a hole just for a few seconds. He did this over and over as I watched him through this crappy 4x25, I think, scope. I knew I had to aim about 6 inches over his head. I waited a few seconds after he ducked into the hole and fired. At nearly that same instant he popped up out of the hole and immediately took 2 rolls backwards and lay motionless. The yells of my cousins all at once screaming and saying no way. Then I saw it. My grandpa with the biggest crap-eating grin I had ever seen on him in my whole life. He was the proudest grandparent in the world at that instant. We ran to the field to check it out and none of my cousins could find a bullet hole or any blood. We then noticed it had a chipped tooth and then that its tongue was accordion back into its mouth with only a small black mark or hole to show where the bullet hit. I played video games with Gary Coleman. Went horseback riding on my honeymoon last summer. My wife decided to trot past me on the trail, so I passed her back while rolling a cigarette. Hand-rolled cigarette on a horse is the coolest thing I've ever done. I snuck onto the sidelines during the Super Bowl once and watched 3/4 of the game before getting kicked out. You have been visited by the money bird. It'll bring you good fortune, but only if you subscribe in 42 seconds or less. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check out another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.